Welcome to Minutes with Mango, Life in Motion. I'm your host, Johnny Mango. This is the place where we inquire about lifestyle, culture, and careers. Weekly, we meet with new guests that make a contribution of their insightful stories about their careers and how those careers impact their lifestyle and culture. Hello, everybody. This is Johnny, and welcome to Minutes with Mango. I think today we've got a guest that is going to get to the core of it all. And I'd like to tell you about her. She blends psychology, science, and spiritual wisdom and reveals the invisible. And I think we all need that. Those invisible rooms of life where people unknowingly block their own growth. I'm really excited to have her today. She works with high achievers who feel they're stuck, and she works with them on how to recalculate the subconscious patterns quietly running their lives so they can activate the CEO of their soul. Such a cool statement. Anyway, for more than 30 years, she's helped entrepreneurs, leaders, and high performers uncover the invisible patterns shaping their decisions, relationships, and results. And I'd really like to welcome Daune Thompson. Daune, welcome.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah. So, Daune, we always start off here at Minutes with Mango about, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are we talking to today?
Wow. Do you want my mini story or how I got here? It's been a journey. I'm going to tell you that. I like to start with just like how this all evolved, because I even look at my own life and I'm like, how did this happen? Like, how did and I look back on my life and I've always been like a kind of a natural born counselor, right? Even as a child, and you just don't get it because you're a kid or you're a young adult and you don't get your gifts. And I remember as a kid, I remembered cracking open rocks because in my grandma, I'd go in the garage, steal the hammer, and I'd go and secretly crack them open because I was so fascinated by what was inside, the crystals, right? The outside looked just so basic, and then the inside was beautiful. And I always felt that in my soul, like that what was inside was more valuable than what we saw on the outside. And then you go through high school and life and fast forward to college, and then I started my career in the health world with a background in physiology and kinesiology. I was a science nerd. I mean, really, that's the best way to say it, right? Because I wanted to go to med school. I was always that natural healer. But honestly, it was probably good that, I couldn't pass a couple courses that were required. And it's good that I didn't, because I was probably would have gotten kicked out because I question everything. And so it was a good thing that our path always like redirects us. And so, but it got me thinking, like, if I could understand the inside of the body, and that was 30 years ago, right? Or more, I could help people change their lives. But then what I saw really quickly was the body doesn't change until the mind does. And I was like, oh, so I went deeper into those behavioral patterns, and the psychology fascinated me. And then even then, Johnny, I kept seeing the same thing. People would know what to do, and we see it now today. We know what to do and they still do not do it. And that's kind of when it hit me. Honestly, this isn't just physical or mental. There's something deeper running the show. And so for me, the real turning point was more personal, right? When I kind of opened this all, isn't it always, right?
Yeah.
And so I had built what I think everyone does, which is what looked like the life you're supposed to want.
Right.
Building businesses, writing books, the white picket fence version of marriage, chasing the perfect body, all these external strategies that I thought would finally make me feel peaceful. And instead they led kind of to a complete crash. And so I had success on the outside, but I wasn't living on the inside. And I'll never forget hearing this moment is what kind of changed everything. My daughter asked her dad in the other room, how come mommy never laughs?
Oh, wow. No.
Like out of the mouth of babes, right? A 3-year-old. And I was like a heart, a knife to my heart. And it was like that moment kind of cracked everything open for me, as I've probably been doing my whole life, but I needed someone else to do it. And so at that point, my marriage was failing. My health was deteriorating. Motherhood felt heavy. And I realized I had to change me. Not them, not my marriage, but me. And so that journey, I'm sure like most, it was not easy. It was quite painful. But it showed me something that most people never see is we're not actually leading our lives. We're being
Right.
run by these subconscious patterns and we're wondering what's wrong with us. And I have a saying that I do in a lot of my programs, you're perfect, nothing's wrong with you, right? So that's what led me to what I now call activating the soul CEO with my Lighthouse Mastery Framework. And I use your soul blueprint or your user's manual. Um,
Oh,
to,
okay.
I mean, I guess it's hard for me to try to explain to people how simple it is because I try to explain if you have a car, right, and there's a light going off, and you're like, okay, well, what does this mean? We go in the glove box, we get the user's manual, we go, oh, it means this, push this button, and the light will go off. Yet we have our own user's manual, very simple to look at, to see our BS and our badass inside, our beauty super fast, right? And so I help people see what's been unconsciously driving them so they can stop repeating it, step into their authentic alignment, and finally live the life that actually feels like theirs, like the life that they deserve.
Right.
So it's just a simple framework that makes the unseen seen and addressing the categories that we all want to excel, which is wealth, health, and love.
I,
There's my
I,
fast version for you, if that
okay.
makes any sense. Like it was a
Yeah.
very,
Yeah. No, I got a couple of questions for you,
yes,
though, even though
tell
you
me.
explained it all. But so why are so many successful people feeling miserable? I mean, what is what's the best way to describe that? What is it? You talked about subconscious, conscious.
Hmm.
Is there a conflict between subconscious and conscious? Is that what we're
Absolutely.
talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so many people feel like when they're successful, why they're still feeling miserable is because success doesn't fix problems, but so many people think success is going to fix my problem, but it doesn't fix their patterns, right? And most people build their success from outside in, as I did, right? Money, their
Yeah.
body, their relationships, but they never look at what's driving those scenarios internally. And so I
Right.
used to think maybe like health, wealth, and love were like three completely separate categories, like three different lanes that you had to master individually. But
Right.
then that's what I was trying to share is what I realized is they're all responding to the same source, your internal frequency, right? So
Yeah.
so what happens is when people become successful, they bring their subconscious patterns with them. So success doesn't remove the patterns. My point is it amplifies them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I guess what I'm kind of sneaking up on here, I'm really curious. What I'm hearing you say is, gee, if I can go save the world, then I can save myself. And the real pattern is the opposite. If I
Yes.
can save myself, I can save the world. If I'm an executive and can save my company, then I'm good. But I'm really not good because I might have these demons floating around in my head
Mhm.
that ain't so cool. And what I do on the outside of myself really doesn't fix that. It's what I'm hearing from you.
You're 100% spot on, right? That's why you'll see people with a lot of money or any money. Like I mastered the money, health, wealth, health, and love. Like I
Yeah.
mastered the wealth department, and they
Right.
come to me still feeling empty because
Right.
or people in relationships they still feel disconnected, or people with status still feel like they're performing and they're just stuck and exhausted, right? And so if you can think of it as, and I think you associate with this, right? Like we are body, mind, and soul, right? We're not
Right.
just a body and we're not just the mind. We're
Right.
all three, right? So if
Yes.
you take it to a simpler version, is things, thoughts, and truth, right? Things are body, anything you can touch. So it's the money, the house, the car, the physical vessel, body. And then thoughts are the beliefs in our mind. And then truth is your soul's authentic self, right? And so for so long, we've been working in the wrong direction. Go get the thing, then
Right.
think about what I need to do. And then we go to the truth and go, but does this, what you just said, does this make my soul peaceful or happy? And so what I want people to understand is that we've just been going the wrong direction. We need to go to truth of the soul first. Is this true for me? Then what thoughts do I need to have? And then things just show up to match that alignment, right?
Yeah. So it sounds like, you know what it sounds like to me?
Tell me.
Sounds like the conflict between our conscious and our subconscious. So if that's the case, how is our brain lying to us? How, if deep down, I in my subconscious, let's say,
Hmm.
I'm not feeling good about myself, because I think that's what I'm hearing you say is
Hmm.
your subconscious is dealing with some kind of shame, for any
Yeah.
better word,
Yeah.
right? Whatever,
Hmm.
however you want to label the shame,
Yeah.
it's down there. Okay.
Hmm.
My conscious said, "Hey, I'm a really cool guy. I'm hip and happening and life is great." Okay. But it's almost like a conflict. What I'm hearing you say, it's like a conflict between consciousness and subconsciousness. Do I have
Yes.
that right?
You have it absolutely right. So think about
Okay.
how our brain is lying to us in this simple way. Our brain's job is not to make us happy from our soul alignment, it's to keep us safe. Right. And so our ego has many labels as we are talking, like your
Right.
inner child, your shadow, your poor programming, your
Yeah.
mind's wiring. Right. But
Yeah.
I call it the shadow beast. Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a 9-year old version of you following you around like the shadow, right? Ready to trump like a little kid that's ready to jump on you, right? Ready to sabotage. And I call it healthy love or unhealthy love, right? So it's ready to sabotage healthy love that you say you want. You want peace, you want joy in conscious, right? Like, okay, for the comfortable, unhealthy love, because that's what we learned was safe. Now, here's the best part. Ego is your protector. It's not a bad thing, even if it's completely confused by what healthy love actually is. And unfortunately, we all have an outdated data to do its job. And so if you had experiences between 0 to 9 years of age, which is when we get programmed with these
Yeah.
patterns, where you, like you said, where you felt rejected, unseen, shame, not enough, your parents still are the representation in your nervous system of love. So your brain decided any love is love. So even if it's inconsistent, unavailable, or unhealthy, so now your brain creates patterns to protect you while at the same point sabotaging healthier options.
Got it.
So the catch is it's never updating the story. And so now healthy love, kindness, consistency, peace can actually feel like a threat because it doesn't match what you were programmed to recognize. So as an adult, you're making these high level, what you said, success decisions based on low level programming that you were never aware of. So your brain
Right.
literally is convincing you, don't speak up, you'll be
Right.
judged, right?
Yeah.
Don't raise your prices, you'll lose people. Don't trust relationships, you'll get hurt. And then it feels so real, but it's not real. It's just protection. So the real lie is if you choose healthy love, healthy health, real health, aligned wealth, it's dangerous,
Yeah.
depending on your karmic lessons that your brain is going to kind of keep you in familiar, even if it's limiting. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I have a question about the ego.
Okay.
Is the ego a product of our conscious? Is it a is it a I mean, you mentioned the ego a few minutes ago, but is it is the ego that function that keeps us from our subconscious reality? That's a heavy
No,
question.
I wish let me just give you the simplistic version because psychology has kind of turned this whole thing into like Freud and
Yeah.
the psyche and the da 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 da. Let's just simplify it down. Is if whatever God's divine, God consciousness
Right.
that someone believes in, right? We come in and we're a soul, i.e., like this is why I use astrology, not to predict your future, not to, I could care less what your tea leaves say, right? But to help you understand your soul's blueprint or your user's manual.
Right.
Now, you and God, whoever that is for you, said, hey, Johnny, you need to go down and help humanity. You have these superpowers, you have these gifts, they need your help. And you're like, okay, I'll go down, I'll do this. But you need to really master like these 3 or 4 like kind of weak categories in your mastery, your soul mastery. So you're like, I'm not doing that again. That is no, I'm not going. If I got to do that, no. And all of a sudden, beep, you're born, right? So we pass through this universe, the galaxy, the planetary alignments, we'll call them frequencies, the quantum field, and kind of tattoos a blueprint or a user's manual onto our soul, right? And so our soul comes in and we're born. And now, if you and I were to not have amnesia about what that contract with God or whatever it is, like this is why you're coming and you don't want to do those things, right? You're like, I'm out of here. I don't want to stay here. So at the end of the day, we were just kind of, our soul kind of brought along a backdoor protection saying, no, we'll just work around some of this difficulty in our life, even as a child, because children are so wise and smart and
Yeah.
intelligent beyond our. And so it says, look, I know how to work through this. And so ego is really our protector. It's keeping us energetically going, you got this, you know how to work around it. And it maneuvers us in certain ways. So ego is actually a blessing if we can see that it was really just protecting us through learning lessons and saying, you got around them. You know, you had
Right.
to come and learn these lessons. You picked this mom and dad for a reason. They're your wounds, right? And you're like here to cut their karmic generational ancestry poor habits, we'll call it unhealthy love. And you have to learn that. And so ego says, you learned how to protect yourself. Now let's upgrade.
Yeah.
And ego will go with you as long as you're saying, I hear you. I know you want that subconsciously, but now I'm awake. My soul's aligned. I know why I came here. I see it on paper. Dawn showed it to me. Now let's go upgrade and allow yourself to not have to be in fearful state of learning these hard lessons that you had to learn as a child. And now you're here as an adult to override. So
Got it.
ego is a protector, but we've given it a bad rap. So it's more like an energetic kind of security guard. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how
Mhm.
does one develop the self-mastery that's needed to overcome what we discussed as the hurdles, for any better word? What does one do to develop that self-mastery?
You ready for the bomb? Fir
Yeah.
First and foremost, stop trying to fix yourself. You were divine perfection in every way, and you got a few master classes to learn that we don't wanna learn because we don't like it because it's uncomfortable and hard, right? And that's where most people go wrong, where and you probably get this, right? Like, we're in this information tsunami of everything that's wrong with us, and we can find it online,
Yeah.
and we can find it in our mind, and the
Yeah.
psychology, and the body, and honestly, I call BS on it. Like, it's silly. We don't need more healing. We need more self awareness to the point of where it's real self understanding of why you came here, what you came to learn, what you came to master. And if you have no way to see yourself, it's going to be a tough journey, right? Because most people don't actually know themselves. If the 30 years I've been doing this, it's a tough question for most people when I ask them that. So self-mastery for me to teach people without me, like if you want a healthy relationship and health, wealth, or love, you've got to see three things. Your BS, which is kind of my funny way to say your 4 Bs, your blocks, your baggage, your bruises, and your breakthroughs. Number 2, you got to validate your authentic self, not the version you were programmed to be, but the version of you that's so beautiful and you get to be authentically you. And number 3, choice. Are you choosing from a want or a need? Because most people choose from need, and need is lack. Need is I don't have it, so I need you to give it to me. That's external. So we could
Right.
look at that. That's self mastery, right? But all 3 of those, if I'm gonna ask you, most people avoid that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I've kind of come to the conclusion that if we have a need, then we believe that we don't have it
Right.
versus,
Totally.
huh? I mean,
Yeah.
it's that simple. If
Mhm.
I have a need, I'm telling myself I don't have it.
Mhm.
Versus if I have a want, that's
Yeah.
something that's outside of myself that can come to me.
And if
So,
it's a want, it's coming from authentic soul self, right? Like,
right,
this is something I truly want and it resonates with me, and I can put out the energy of saying, I'm gonna find a way to get what I want from inside out, not needing others. Does that make
right.
sense?
Yeah. So let's talk about confidence and real confidence versus hypothetical confidence. And to me, the differences are, and we'll keep with what you've been talking about. Kind of fake confidence is, I'm going to show you how to be a better employee. I'm going to show my shareholders how I can really move this company,
Mhm.
um, versus real confidence, which is, I believe in myself and I need to take these actions to do that. One of the people I interviewed, some time ago, she was a psychologist who was an expert in the imposter syndrome. And I'm hearing bits and pieces from you about the imposter syndrome right now, even
Mhm,
though it's labeled a little differently, but it's about that self-confidence versus that, for any better word, confidence projection.
mhm.
I think we have a tendency to project certain things versus who we really are.
Absolutely. We project what I was sharing with you is pattern performance, right?
Yeah,
There's these unconscious patterns that are running us in those 4 Bs and saying, "No, this is how we have to live to feel safe, where we're blocked and where we're bruises and where we're baggage and our emotional baggage and we're going to perform this version what you think everyone will like." So performance confidence is I feel good when things are going well or I achieve a title or a thing, right?
right,
Real confidence is I trust myself when things aren't going right, whether they are or aren't going with what I want, right? And so
right,
most people build confidence on outcomes. Did I succeed? Did they like me? Did I get the result? So they're constantly chasing external approval, and real confidence is built internally. It comes from and I cannot there's like a trend out there, right? Like you just need to love yourself more, Johnny. You just need
yeah,
to self love. And I'm like, I call BS on that too. Why? Because self love, I can have a crappy day and I can go out and get a massage and feel good probably for the rest of the day. The next day, that stuff I did not deal with is still there. And
yeah,
so the challenge with that is that that's self love. I'm doing kind things for myself, but real confidence comes from self-understanding, from knowing I don't lose myself in any situation because I know who I am. I can feel any emotion from others and not collapse. I
right,
can trust my decisions even if they don't work out perfectly for others. I'm not here to be liked. I'm
yeah,
here to be authentic, right?
right.
Does that make sense? Well,
Blip,
and like what I was saying is that when we come from self-love and I got to go do these things and I got to buy a thing and get a thing and if I get
right,
this for me and I get a massage and I do these things that that's loving myself. That's not love. The confidence comes from self-understanding and knowing myself, right? And so what I was sharing is when I know truly understand myself, my BS, my authenticity of who I really am at the core, I don't change who I am for anyone. I used to do this a lot in corporate America. I mean, I was told all the time, right, Johnny? I was told, oh, don't use astrology, Dawn. It's too woo woo. And again, we're going back 20, 30 years. I've
yeah,
been doing this a long time with executive coaching and training. And I said, okay, I won't. But I'm still going to look at your chart, look at your weak spots, where your blind spots are, look at where your power moves are. You don't need to know it. I don't even ever need to bring it up to you again. I just need to know your information. And then I would share with them, look, this is where you're blocked. Is that true? And they're like, how do you know this about me? I don't. I'm just understanding you. Now I want you to understand you so you don't have to feel like something's wrong with you anymore. So when they stop losing themselves in a situation, again, I can feel an emotion and not collapse. Right. I trust my decisions even when they don't work out for others because they don't like what my choice is. I'm okay with it because I know it's the right, honest, loving, conscious choice for my authentic self.
yeah. I keep coming back to. I think we have a tendency, and even more today. I think to want to change everybody but ourselves.
Yes. It's so true. It's a lot easier to avoid yourself and
Right.
accuse and look for problems, and especially in relationships. I get this all the time with couples and
Yeah.
relationships is they don't want to do this for me. And I'm like, they don't have to.
Yeah.
That's a needy position. In
Yeah.
a want position, you can do it for yourself and own your energy and stand in that space and they get to then decide
Right.
to bring you that healthy space,
So
right?
how does one build? The question here is, how does one build the confidence in themselves to be able to do that? Okay. In other words, instead of projecting what the need, how do they become the want, basically? How do they become that? Do they see it in themselves to begin with? Or do they see the shame in their soul and are they fighting that off?
So you're asking how. So this was been the conundrum in my life for 30 years, which is why I got so frustrated and I finally said, no, we're going to take body, mind, and spirit. We're going to take, the physical, the spiritual, and the psychological, and we're going to put them all on paper, right? Which is why I said, I'm not hiding the spiritual anymore. Your birth chart is simply a blueprint of your soul's
Yeah.
tattoo on your map. And it's saying, this is who you are. This is what you're made up of. These are your lessons. And so my point is from my perspective, my tool, right? You can literally just start by pulling your free birth chart on my site and looking at your 4 hotspots, as I call them, your 4 Bs or your BS, right? Like, this is where I'm weak. Can I actually see it and understand myself and go, you're right. I fall down there sometimes, right? Because when you can see where you fall down, you can choose to rise differently. And so I've created like these 2-step, 4-step, very basic systems. And then people are like, but I don't believe in astrology. Fine, then go take my Elevate class and go download and put on paper what your parents' patterns and programming from their ancestors. And you look at it and say, am I repeating any of this? And every hands down, they'll say, yep, that's what I'm repeating. Now, again, it's a choice to rise. I take the subconscious and push it up, put it on paper, and then absolutely it's a choice. Do I want to live in this poor pattern, or do
Wow.
I want to step up and rise above it and make a new conscious choice? It's getting clear on your patterns, getting clear on your plan, because those same patterns become your superpowers the moment you understand them. But most people do not want to go inside and understand that they're the one creating the same pattern, whether it's in wealth, health, or love, or
Right.
they're like, but I don't have it. And Johnny, I don't have it in wealth. Look how successful I am. Okay, but how are your relationships? And then they're like,
Yeah.
oh, and they lock up immediately on me, right? And they're like, well, I'm
I
like,
think
because that's the pattern you're avoiding. Why not have it all?
I think that's why there's so much divorce in the world right
Of
now.
course. Yeah.
In our culture, maybe not in
Yes.
other cultures, but in our culture,
Yes.
because we've been trained to project out the defense of our inner feelings. How's that sound? Can't believe I just said that, but
It's spot on.
you
It's
know,
spot on,
so
because we've been taught to avoid the emotional understanding of the undercurrent of what we actually came to learn. And
right,
this is what I try to tell people. I'm doing better. I'm like, but are you really? Like, are you really? Like, I look at where my weak spots are in my personality, and I'm like always kind of on guard. Like, Dawn, are you slipping? Are you are you getting like lazy in your lessons and your classes? And this person showed up to teach you. Are you going to let him take advantage of you? I was the eternal, because I'm kind, I'm generous, I'm a teacher, I'm a healer, I love people. Like I said, I see the wholeness and beauty inside people. I don't see the problems. So then I'm just like, oh, we can work on that. Well, then they're coming in and I was the eternal doormat and self-sacrificing. And I realized, well, that's one of my weak spots. So am I going to learn to put up a boundary, or am I going to just say, poor me, woe is me, this is what everybody does to me? And the moment I saw it, realizing that is one of the lessons, God and I said, yeah, beep, you're doing it, Dawn. I'm like, no, I can
yeah,
run away, but I can't hide from it.
yeah, yeah. Wow. So you have a tool on your website that somebody can go dip into. Huh? Well, let's talk about that quickly, because
Okay.
I think that would be important.
The best way I can tell people is I've basically created a free birth chart. Like, you don't need to know the chart. It gives you a report. But a lot of people are like, okay, this is well and good, Don. All right. Or you can go take Reality Check, Reset, which is a class. It's a 2-step class. It's very short. And it says you don't really need to know your chart, but you really do need to understand these 2 blocks and baggage that you're carrying around as subconscious wounds. So just go sit and get to know yourself. That's
Yeah.
my biggest tip for people, is they're all on my website. And so, if your external life isn't matching what you say you want on the inside, and you're like, I'm not at peace, it's because you're not doing it wrong. And so I want people to understand, it's because something internal, that 9-year-old self, is driving your car. And the moment you see that clearly on paper and not in some, we'll call it psychological, in space, kind of like, well, I know she told me it's this, but how do I know? Well, why don't
Yeah.
we put it on paper and see a few categories that you just need to go back to class and stop chasing results and start leading your life? It's that simple. And
Well,
it's all on my website, right? If they just went to ideserveitnow.com, you can, or my name, everything goes to me. And like I said, I'm here to raise self-worth of the planet, because we've been just clobbered. And I just, I'm not having it anymore. We're beautiful, amazing, powerful souls.
Why do you think that's happened? What's the story behind the conflict?
Well, what I truly believe is that we've been kind of in a spiritual and an emotional poverty for so long because we've been in this, what Guy was telling you, in a things, thoughts, and truth. We started with things, go get a thing, go get a food, save your family. Like, go back to just, the
Get a
hunter
new car.
gatherers, right?
Yeah.
We had to just get a thing to live this reality in this 3D world. And so it's been going on for thousands of years.
Hmm.
What happened is we've been constantly tapping in for the last, we'll say, 50 to 100 years of our truth, our soul, our spiritual higher self, and saying, wait, how do I tap into source? How do I tap into my source? How do I tap into my soul? And the more we kept tapping in, we started waking up from the things weight of, not allowing to emotionally express our spiritual soul and our emotional soul saying, I really want this. Johnny, I want this thing really bad. And it could be as simple as like, I have a lot of male clients. Like, I really want to, what's wrong with me having 6 cars? Well, you're a collector. I don't think anything's wrong with it. It's in your chart. It's who you are. You
Yeah.
make money. You do these transactions. I think they're pretty good. Now, for just someone thinking that buying, I don't know, cars very well, it's Ferrari, that's going to make him feel better. You two aren't on the same soul level, right? So, my point is that we've gotten to this point because we've been living, things will make my mind feel better and my soul will say yes, it'll be at peace. What happened is we inverted from the bottom up, and we inverted, and now we're starting with soul, then our thoughts, then letting the things align with that, and that's the attraction. Right? We're just attracting those things that match who we are,
Right.
and because we're awakening to our soul, we're doing a lot of spiritual work. And I don't mean, I'm using spiritual lightly, because I'm trying to say is we're tapping into our soul instead of things and the external world telling you what's wrong with you. And I don't believe that. I don't think anything's wrong with you. We just didn't know where to look.
Got it. That's pretty good.
Do you catch yourself there, understanding kind of you're wakening up to like this program we're on right now is kind of more in your soul. It probably brings you joy and just
Yeah.
peace,
Yeah, it
right?
does. It does. I've been for my own personal work. I uh, I have a whole bunch of notes in my phone from about 2 weeks ago on this particular subject. But I think it's tied to um, shame. I think that for whatever reasons, and it may go back to when we were children
Mhm.
and incidents in our lives created some type of shame that we didn't know how to deal with. And so that's embedded in our subconscious somehow. And so we fight that. And the way we fight it is to project out, which you just did a great job of describing how, if I could just get that Ferrari, if I could just get that beautiful woman, if I can just
Yeah,
have these 5
yeah.
kids or whatever, or the $20
Yeah,
million,
yeah, yeah,
whatever, just throw it out
yeah,
there.
right.
Okay. Then that will take care of my shame. And
And you know what's so fascinating about that shame is you go back to that 0 to 9-year-old, and they weren't allowed, most people, like, I'd have a parenting through the zodiac course where to go look at your children's true blueprint in their soul, right? My question is if you think about children, they're very authentic. They live in the moment. They're
yeah,
very present, and when they're shamed by saying, I want, hey, mommy, daddy, aunt, uncle, whoever, teacher,
yeah,
I want this. I would like to learn differently in this class. No, that's not how it's done. And they're like, but there's a better way. And they're like,
go ahead.
no, right. So the more you keep getting shamed by being your authentic self, we have been stuffing and suppressing and pushing this all down, feeling shame for just being who we are. And
Yes,
that pattern then gets literally locked up in our emotional embedded cellular system. And then we think something's wrong with us. And my point is going, no, you came to learn that shame actually was there. So you could say today, do you want to be ashamed of picking you? And there's so many people are like, I feel like it's so, you know, I feel like I'm being like selfish by picking me. That's how bad the shame is because they're
yeah,
afraid to feel selfish. And I'm like, be selfish. I mean, be
Well,
selfish where you're hurting people. No, but be selfish to pick that want for
yeah.
what, I don't know. You want to eat cake before dinner? Eat it
So
kind of a thing.
I tell you what got me on this a couple of weeks ago was the concept of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And I have friends and family, different people that I've
Sure.
observed that have a hard time with forgiveness. Like people that get divorced, they really have a hard time with forgiveness a lot
I
of
know.
times, right?
Yes.
And I kind of realized that forgiveness comes from the self. It doesn't come from the outside.
Mm-mm.
And so the forgiveness is really about self forgiveness. And the problem with self forgiveness is, well, dang, I have to face myself. I have to face whatever's going on inside me to get to that self forgiveness. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm hearing from you is that that we have to start within ourselves rather than outside of ourselves. And we have a tendency to project. So if I'm in a relationship and I want to, and I don't feel good about myself, well, then if I can make my partner feel better, then I'll feel better. And it just
Mm-hmm.
blows up because
Mm-hmm.
I'm dealing in an area that doesn't belong to me, basically. And
It's
I'm starting to discover that. And anyway,
you are spot on, which is why I get a lot of couples, and I don't do couples counseling. I don't believe in it.
yeah,
I'm very clear. If you learn your, we'll call it BS, and you learn your BS, and you can come to each other and say, honey, this is my stuff. This is my blocks, my emotional baggage from childhood. This is my bruises. This is where I want to break through. And you catch me faltering, you have permission to call me out on it and I will own it and help me. And hey,
yeah,
honey, if you could do the same for me. Now, two people have this on paper and can exchange this and say, oh, wow, I do see where you do that. I'm so sorry. I absolutely will help you grow there. This is where power couples start growing because they're in a safe space to start elevating out of this emotional debris, which again, all of those come from, I'm ashamed to say, this is a scary piece for me, instead of saying, I'm ashamed that I didn't forgive myself. And
right,
you know what? That's how you start coming to the truth of healing relationships, is because we need to feel safe to allow ourselves to be forgiven. Forgive ourselves, because how would you know? I mean, if you didn't know any better, how would you know that these were things that you came to
right,
break open? And if you have a safe person, they want to feel safe too. But if
yeah,
they each think you're accusing them of not giving, and here's the funny part. I watch this in couples hands down. An abandonment person, it finds an abandonment person. Narcissism is a big topic, right? I'm like, oh, there's no narcissism. There's a big loud bully and a passive empath who both have self-confidence issues and self-esteem issues. And they come together and they have to learn how to maybe make your passiveness get a little bit louder and more confident. And by the way, this is what nice, soft, gentle of dealing with your stuff looks like. I don't care if it's shame, unworthiness, abandonment, control, whatever it is, we are like attracts like, to see if we're going to find a safe space to share our BS and say, will you help me?
yeah,
We make it so hard, and it's not. It's
yeah,
love,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. There you go.
It's just love.
Wow. Well, Dawn, I certainly appreciate the conversation today. And
Thank
let's spell your name because it ain't like it sounds.
Yeah. It's Dawn. Dawn is spelled Daune, Daune Thompson. And again, you can find me at dawnthompson.com or I deserve it now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but I deserve it now.com. And, because there's so many free quizzes and options to kind of just start looking inside on my website, because I want people to feel better. I have from basics all the way up to my very elite programs where people are just done playing small and said, I want to understand myself. And it's that basic.
Well, thank you so much for the
Thank you for having me.
conversation. And I hope was as fun as you thought it was going to be.
It was. It was so fun. I love talking about this stuff. So you open my soul.
Okay. You have been listening to Minutes with Mango, Life in Motion. Subscribe to hear a new and unique guest each week as they comment on their life's journey and share experiences with lifestyle, culture, and career. You can always find us at minuteswithmango.com.